You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and I haven't done a video like this for a while, which is basically where I just sit back and analyse a movie, talk about a movie in a kind of laid back, unscripted sort of style and just literally air my thoughts. I kind of tend to do this on movies that are more, that require that. A lot of classic films or films that require lots of contemplation and this and that. Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, it's an astonishing piece of work, it really is, and I felt so much watching it this time around compared to other watches. I feel like it's a movie that's really relevant, sadly so. I because obviously it is a nihilistic film. It is a dark film, about a man who just literally is on the road to, darkness, about a world slowly suffocating this guy. And an example of him going along for the ride, he doesn't try and help himself. And his beliefs have become so corrupted because of where he lives, because of his environment. And sometimes there's no escape from disillusion. And that's the scary thing about this film. I feel like this film is an example of what a lot of males experience. They get stuck in their beliefs, they get lonely, they get sad, they don't talk. And, they go down a bad path. And when you look around and see this suffocating, immoral world, and the only place to escape to is in your own head. But in your own head, that world has already seeped into it and kind of broken down your own barriers, your own protection, or your own escape route. I mean, that's the incredible thing. It's a deeply unsettling film in that respect. The blood red tone throughout this, Travis's face constantly lit with this red, almost to just show his anger and stress, and the heat of the night, the light of the city, the constant tint, very absorbing the way that Scorsese creates this. I feel he draws you in with a somber, mysterious shadows, the neon obviously of the city, the reflections, the streetlights, the haunting nightlife. It looks really fun and great, but it's also really bleak at the same time, and nihilistic and sad, what you see going around, and just very sleazy. And I feel like the way Scorsese introduces us to this film is just so absorbing. The way he uses the camera, he's one of the most involving directors of all time. The shots go by without you even noticing, really. It's a very difficult film to analyse. That's why I think it just demands rewatch, because it's a film that wraps you up. It's a film almost with a dreamlike atmosphere. And I feel like Scorsese's a master at everything coming together in terms of the music. The score is very sharp and captivating. Now and again it's a soulful score, it's a romantic score, it's a melancholy score. But all the ingredients team up. I feel like that's what makes the movie enjoyable. There's moments in this where you just see Travis just disgust. He's just given up on humanity. And Robert Deniro, the look on his face as Travis, he might be the most gifted actor on planet Earth for facial expressions. He just completely and utterly puts his dedication into every role he does. His cadence, his expressions, he just sinks deep into it. The way he talks, the mannerisms, he just becomes characters. And it's one of the greatest performances of all time. And you can see there's just so much going on behind Travis' eyes. You can see that alienation, that loss, and that sense of being let down by what's around him. And it's a privilege to watch Niro act. He makes you like Travis in this film. He makes you like Travis, he makes you hate Travis, he makes you love Travis. And that's very, very hard to do, but he puts you through every emotion with Travis and makes you relate to him. Isolation has never been so relevant as in this COVID world. Crazy to watch Taxi Driver in a COVID world, It makes the male loneliness pandemic hit home even more. This sense of being disconnected from the world is something that we're never going to escape, I don't think. It's a film about uncertainty. Where's the world going to go? Can the world get any better? Is the human condition always doomed to repeat itself? A film about morals, a film about whether Travis's morals, the way he holds on to them, the way he just believes that almost that he's holier than thou. He puts himself above everyone in the city, but then when he does have empathy, it's really strong. You know, he's very compassionate for a couple of the characters in the film. Obviously, he meets a famous character played by Jodie Foster, who's a young prostitute. When he is saying these things to her, to get out of this life, to get out of this world, he's saying it with conviction, you know, and that's why you do see a kind of, there's something inside of Travis, there is something there, but he's been corrupted, where his own ego has taken him over. And ironically, Travis is just as bad as anyone in the city, really, because he's willing to do bad things. You know, this is what it is. This is, you can't let the world make you as bad as it and just say, well, because the world's just as bad, I can be just as bad, and I'm holier than thou. You know, that's what this whole thing is about. You know, it's an extraordinary film to watch now. Travis dates a girl in this, Betsy, played by Sybil Shepherd. She's great in this. You know, I'm surprised she wasn't more of a star. But, you know, when he sits down with her, he's charming and he's genuine. It's, you know, it's one of those brief moments in the film of nice human interaction. You know, he just can't get his experiences out of him, his trauma. He's a product of where he's been and where he is now. You know, and when she breaks up with him, because he takes her to a porn film, he says, you're in a hell and you're going to die in a hell. You know, he can't, just because she doesn't agree with him and didn't enjoy a date, he's like on this knife edge where he can snap at any time. He's a ticking time bomb. I always feel like Scorsese films, they're on a downward spiral, but the way you get there is a roller coaster ride. So you go up, down, down, up, you know, zigzag, and then you just go straight down to hell in a handbasket, and he just takes you there in the most stylish, watchable way. And you do forget how much they got away with back here. You do forget how much Scorsese got away with in his early films. You know, Mean Streets as well. Just very dark and grimy and gritty and horrible. But so genuine, you know, and so true to life on the streets. And with so much to say and with so much to expose. You could never do this today. You know, and I really do miss it. The 70s and the early 80s, just that level of needing to show what was going on the streets, you know, wanting to be genuine, wanting to be true to life. I miss that in films, and Taxi Driver is incredible achievement in that sense. You know, that scene of him where he sat there with that melancholy song playing, sitting there with his gun watching TV. The gun is now his friend. The only thing that gives him a sense of control in his life. He's just sitting there with that gun, waiting for the time he's going to use it. Incredibly effective, you know, and that melancholy song in that scene almost for me just represents the end of Travis, really. I think this is Scorsese's most tragic film because, you know, when we get Goodfellas, when we get Casino, there's gains for these characters throughout the film. You know, they get something through the immoral world they're in. Travis gets nothing, you know, just spends 2 hours being disgusted and disappointed. Everyone's trapped, no one's really having a decent life. Even Sybil Shepherd's character, she admits that she's lonely and she's isolated. Everyone's trapped, you know. And there's that one guy running for president who we keep going back to, and it's his job to save the world. But even he, when he hears what the world is like in the back of that taxi cab, you know, just hears genuine from the streets what he's got to deal with to fix the country. So everything is just, nothing's going right for anyone. No one reaches heights in this film. Everyone's on their way down. Obviously Travis is about to shoot the guy running for president, but he gets stopped, and then in the next scene he takes out some gangsters with his gun in just a staggeringly shot sequence. That's the difference between a hero and an assassin in this film. It's on a knife edge. Will he become an assassin or will he become a hero? Depends on who he shoots, and he could go down either avenue. And you know, it's an interesting thing to think about, of someone in this state of mind. It's indistinguishable for them who they go for, because the entire world is bad to them. So if they become a hero, they're not necessarily becoming a hero out of wanting to be moral. If they become an assassin, they're not necessarily becoming an assassin out of a vendetta. It's just all out of the same intentions, cleaning the scum of the world. The scene of that room after Travis shoots those gangsters, you know, full of blood and bodies as the camera moves up, is just incredibly dreamlike, incredibly disturbing, incredibly well done. And Travis just looking up is so powerful. And you know what? We don't really know what happens from there. It's very thought-provoking, you know, and the sharp music, the slow motion of the cars coming. And then we see the articles that Travis was a hero, you know, and people have talked about whether this is a dream sequence, this end, you know. And I feel like Scorsese, he's never really elaborated on it. He's never really explained. So basically in the final scene of the film, Travis has been looked at as a hero. And Betsy gets in his cab again, and she now respects him. You know, all he ever wanted was to be recognised for eliminating the scum, and then at the end of this film, he is. So it's almost like his desires for what he wanted to achieve come true. But did this all come true from his death? Did he die in that shootout? Was he still in a coma? Or is this what happened? You know, some have speculated that this is what happened, but Travis isn't cured. You know, the way that the film kind of drifts out with Travis gazing shows that he could kick off at any point again. I don't know what my take on it is. You know, I like looking at it either way. If it did happen, it's kind of a happy ending, but it's kind of not, and it kind of goes with this film's kind of bleak, nothing gets solved feeling. But I do kind of like the thought-provoking idea that this ending didn't happen, and it's just Travis on his deathbed thinking about being a hero. But I don't know, I kind of wonder whether Travis would care about getting plaudits. So, you know, I'm very interested in what you guys' take would be on this ending. Fascinating ending. So absorbing and so interesting. One of the greatest open endings of all time. Taxi Driver really is a masterpiece. It's incredible. It's timeless. You know, it's still thought-provoking to this day. It's still relevant to this day. And it examines so many things that make you think. What do you guys think of Taxi Driver? Is there any films you'd like to hear me just talk about off the cuff in a kind of in-depth discussion sort of way? Let me know what you think. Please check out another in-depth discussion on the screen now. Please subscribe if you like these. I will be doing more on the channel. Please check out my other content too on the channel if you're a movie geek just like me. And I will see you guys next time.